What's up, y'all? This is Good Vibes by Zay. Before we start, if you are looking for the most fascinating, most polarizing, most interesting sports radio show, check out In the Huddle podcast on Can You Dig It Sports Radio app. You can also use the request line 1833 Radio BX. That is 1833 Radio BX.
The most polarizing, fascinating, interesting debate show is live in the huddle.
And I was saying to myself, it's time we bring another guest on the show, right? I feel like it's time to bring another guest on the show just to give that alternative perspective on the show. So I was saying to myself, who do I really want to bring in on the show today? And then lo and behold, it dawned on me, I haven't had this brother that I have right now in a minute. It's been like a year since me and this brother linked up. And I said, you know what? I got to get him on the show today. And without further ado, before I even introduce him, I do want to introduce my co-host in the building. Zay, how you doing? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm always in paradise. I can't complain. Things are great, especially in the sports world, personally. And I can't wait to talk about the sports today. I'm really locked in. I'm ready to go, honestly.
And I like to hear that. And without further ado, let me introduce the guest here that we have on the show. He's a co-host of Real Fans Will Talk and co-host of Shooting the podcast. And listen, this brother, he does it all. Okay. Listen, I'll let him introduce himself for those of y'all that are new listeners to the show. For those of y'all that listen to the show before, you know this brother, you've seen him a couple times, but for the newcomers, I'll let my guy Anthony introduce himself and what he's about and what he's trying to do today with us here, debating all these great topics today on the agenda. And how you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. I'm proud of you, little bro. I see you out here moving and grooving. You know what I'm saying? So, it's always a pleasure for me to come back and rock with you. Do this sports talk thing. I mean, if they probably see me around, but yeah, I do. I host Real Fans Real Talk Thursday nights on Verizon 43 in New York City, and Shooting the Shit podcast every Thursday and Sunday. We drop new episodes on that. I was actually just down in Florida myself too. I was hoping Miami, they don't disappoint me, so I can go back for the finals and get back to South Beach, because I was at game one of the conference semis against Philly. I was out there for that, so I was hoping they was going to get back, and so I can have an excuse to go back down to South Beach.
Nah, I feel you, bro. It's always a good time in South Beach for sure. But it looked like you're not going to get your wish, bro, because Miami can't handle BI. They can't. And it's time to talk about that right up here as the Boston Celtics defeated the Miami Heat 93-80. 1 win away from the NBA Finals, the Boston Celtics are. Are we surprised that the Celtics blew out the Heat the last two games?
The game was lackluster, and it was disappointing that both teams came out the way they did. The first half was atrocious. It was horrible shooting from both sides. The offense is very stagnant from the Boston Celtics perspective, which I was surprised about, because throughout the entirety of the second half of the season, not the entirety, so the second half of the season, like midway point, they had nothing but ball movement. They was able to get everyone flowing early on in the game. And that's what we saw in the second half of this game. They moved the ball. Everyone was flowing. Jaylen Brown got his threes flowing in that fourth quarter. He started moving and actually providing some sort of offensive threat on the court. That first half was horrible. Jason Tatum was 1 for 9. Brown was 2 for 7. The best offensive player on the court at the time was Derek White, coming off the bench, who's been sensational the last two games. I was surprised that his production has kind of been the bright light of this team. It seems that once Derek White goes off, Derek White starts to score, then the Miami changes their focus on him, and then everyone else gets flowing somehow, some way. It's weird to say the least. But I am surprised that Boston was able to have a spark in that second half. I didn't believe that Miami will falter this bad defensively, and because their offense was horrible. It was nothing going right for this team. I think the only guy that was doing well was Gabe Vincent, who was shot terrible from the three. I think it was like 1 for 8 maybe, but he was like able to get into the rim. And Boston did a fantastic job defensively, prohibiting those threes from Miami Heat side. Jimmy Butler does not look good at all, and that is the truth. This guy, there was somebody I called the superstar at one point when he brought the Miami to that championship in the bubble, and I called him that because of what he did, because he was arguably carrying this team. It seems like right now, when he's not carrying this team can't do anything right. Bam Adebayo has the ability to score multiple points, again, to the rim and do damage. But for whatever reason, he's not that second star that he's supposed to be on this team. Kyle Lowry is non-existent. Brother, I think he has 0 points, maybe 2 points. This game, I don't know what's going on with him. It doesn't look good. Miami Heat just did not look like a basketball to an NBA team to me in this game. It didn't look good. 23 points in the second quarter was the most points they scored in a quarter this game. It was atrocious, to say the least. And I think Boston ends it in Boston because Miami seems like they can't get it right offensively, especially after these last 2 games.
And you go right ahead, brother.
Well, listen, let me first say this. Don't be so quick to rush to take away Jimmy Butler's superstar status because they struggled the last couple of games. Because we got to keep in mind that Jimmy Butler is dealing with a knee issue right now. And we're talking about somebody that was averaging damn near 40 coming into the series. You're still keeping those same numbers up in the first couple of games, and then we saw the change once he got hurt. I thought that Miami should have sat Jimmy Butler in Game 4 in Boston, just because they took care of what they were supposed to take care of and was able to hold on to the lead when he got hurt in Game 3 and went out. The fact that they held on and got that win. That was all right. We could sit Jimmy for this Game 4 because they probably going to come at us with everything anyway because they don't got no choice right now. So let's sit him, rest him, get him ready to come back to Miami for Game 5 because we also lose Tyler Herro in that game. I call him Swaggy T. But then you also lose him in that game as well. So now that's a huge part of your offense right there with those 2 guys banged up. At least Jimmy was able to get on the court. Tyler Herro with the groin injury, he's not even able to get on the court right now. But you would have got the rest from Jimmy Butler. And this whole series has kind of been a series of injuries because we had Marcus Smart out with an injury. We had Jason Tatum, with the shoulder. Al Horford wasn't really the injury; it was more of a COVID situation. But he missed Game 1. But then on the Miami side, you got Jimmy Butler who's hurt. You got Kyle Lowry who's going in and out of the lineup because he's hurt. You got Tyler Herro who's out right now. PJ Tucker missed Game 2, I believe. So there's a lot of injuries going on in this series as well. I think if both teams are fully healthy, Robert Williams also was out. I think the series looks a little bit better. But Miami's really banged up right now, and if they have a deep team, but there is a huge gap between Jimmy Butler and everybody else that on the roster after him. I do expect a little bit more from Bam. I thought the Game 3 performance was something that they should have went to, but I think Boston did try to counter that by playing Robert Williams and Al Horford at the same time. But I still think Bam should be able to maneuver a little bit better. He's kind of struggled outside the Game 3 this entire series. And then if you don't got if the head of the snake is not 100% and ready to go, it's going to be some long nights for Miami, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I really want to buy the subliminal excuses for the injuries here. I think injuries are a part of the game, and one thing that I realized, as much as I've been watching sports all these years, sometimes the obvious thing, it comes at the back end. We try to kind of go into the analytics and try to be the X's and O's kings, even though we didn't play the game. But right in front of our face, what I really noticed in sports the last 2 seasons is that injuries are literally the biggest key to success in winning a championship. You may say, oh, wow, like, duh, but like when you think about it, yeah, I think that you have to be healthy, and the team that's the most healthiest are normally the teams that win the chip, and that's part of the game. And I think when you look on both sides, there are a lot of injuries, but I still expected more from Jimmy Butler, and I think we need to give Boston the appreciation because it's not an aberration how they did my man's Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler, and Giannis in Game 7. Obviously, Giannis still put up numbers, but you can tell he started to fade. And when you have gritty guys that's all up in your grill, the real Lil on the mic, it could slow you down. And I think there's no excuses for the lack of aggression that I see from Jimmy Butler, which is very uncharacteristic. Say what you want about the knee injury, but I know him to be aggressive and putting it all out there on the floor no matter what. He can play without his head. Okay, he'll still be aggressive. That's Jimmy Butler. That's the Jimmy Butler I know, and I haven't seen it.
Stop you from doing a lot of things that will limit you, though.
It could limit you, but I don't see it. And I think a guy like Jimmy Butler, I expect to put it all out there on the floor. Kyle Lowry, I don't even know why he's out there. First of all, I mean, the guy went scoreless in 25 minutes. The game before this one, he scored 3 points. Once again, I reiterate, why is this fella out here? He's not doing nothing offensively. So I think Boston needs that respect. And I think when you look at this game in the microcosm of this series, if we go back to game one, it was the opposite if you really watch the game than this past game 5. Because game 1, Boston came out the gate and they punched the heat in the mouth. Then they got outworked in the second half in the third quarter. Not this game. It was the polar opposite. They started off slow, and then coming out of halftime, that's when Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum started to do their thing. Remember, that game 1, they were 3 for 16. Actually, this game, they were 3 for 16 in the first half, and in the second half, they combined for 33 points, 13 for 18 shooting. So it literally became the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown show in the second half, which is the polar opposite from what we saw when Boston gave away that first game. And I just think Boston, and I said it before, they're the clear better team. You know, the games that they lost or the quarters that they lost was them giving Miami on a silver platter the game. When you look at that game 3, when they had 23 turnovers and Miami scored 33 points off of that. When you look at the game 1, as I reiterate, them getting outworked in the third quarter, I don't really think Miami really outright showed that they are a better team on this stage than Boston. And I think right now, when you look at Boston, you smell that finals appearance because guess what? You will be playing in it.
My thing is, right, when we look at how Miami Heat has been playing this entire series, they've been playing uncharacteristic. And I say that because they shot 45 threes last game. Miami Heat was not one of the more three-point shooting teams this entire season. They actually were a team that favored going into the paint, getting free throws, getting 2-pointers, floaters, mid-game, mid-range. That was the bulk of their points throughout the entirety of the season. So looking at 45 3-points attempted during this series looks like they're looking for some kind of something in the sense of they get spark them. It doesn't look like they're comfortable in this series like Lil just stated. It just seems like the Celtics are in the driver's seat because of the way Miami Heat's playing is not the way they play. Max Strus and Gabe Vincent went 1 for 14 combined from the 3-point line. And these guys were arguably the best 3-point shooters in this series thus far. You got Jimmy Butler attempting 5 threes, PJ Tucker shooting 5 threes. They got a lot of guys who don't shoot as many threes as they normally do. It's looking like, they're looking for some urgency. And I don't know if they're going to find it in this game 6 coming up because it's going to be interesting to see how this is all going to play out going into Boston in their home crowd. And you don't want to because Tatum didn't play good that first half. If he would have played good this first half, he would have seen a blowout. It would have been a bad game if Tatum would have been hitting the shots in that first half. And I understand that Jimmy Butler has a knee inflammation. I know that what kept him out the second half, I believe, in game, was it 5 or 4? I forgot which game it was.
I think it was game 4.
It was game 4. He didn't come back into the game, I believe, or something like that. And
actually, game 3. Game 3. It was game
3. And I understand that's probably what's bothering him, but it's like it sucks because there's another time where Jimmy Butler's having a great playoff, and then the injury happens. It happened in the finals. He had a great playoff coming to the finals, and then he's dealing with nagging injuries, and then they had Dragic out at that time. Then it was a bunch of guys was out, and right now they need all hands on deck. If Hero can play at least 60% of himself, 70, they need some buckets on the floor. Even Victor Oladipo, give him more minutes because he's the guy when he's on the floor a long time. He's able to impact them on both sides of the floor, offensively and defensively. He didn't have the greatest game in the last game. He only had 3 points, unfortunately. But more time on the floor, he's able to make something happen. It's troubling to see Miami Heat go through this phase because I definitely had them going to the finals. I had them against the Warriors as my pick to go to the finals in my prediction. Right now, it just seems like the Miami. I don't know what gear they could go to next because I don't see how they triumph over Boston in Boston. That's a tough building to win in. Anyone can tell you that TD Garden is a difficult place to win in, especially in the playoffs. So I don't know, man. It's looking bleak.
I do want to cut right in here and I'm gonna give you the last word on this topic. When you look at a guy like Derek White, I think he's been one of the underrated catalysts for this Boston Celtics team, and that addition is proven dividends. Sometimes we look at these big acquisitions and transactions during the trade deadline, and we look at the big ones and say, all right, that's the most impactful one. Sometimes it's the little ones. And this right here, being a little one, has been a big one in the back end. When you talk about his aggressive approach these last 2 games from the offensive end, I know what I'm going to get from him defensively, but from the offensive end, he just came out with aggression. When you look at his stats, I believe it was entering game 4. He only attempted 6 shots and finished the first quarter of game 4 with 9 points and 13 points. And then he followed that up in this game 5, and he was looking to score the basketball. It was a couple plays where they were getting back in transition. I'm thinking he's going to, throw an alley-oop, and he's actually looking to score and draw the foul. He has this aggressive approach now that I feel could help the Celtics close out this series in game 6. And also, my last point here is the reason why the Celtics are here, and there's a plethora of reasons, but one of the key contributors is moving Marcus Smart to point and having the faith in him to take the reins of this offense, because he could defend pretty much anybody, and he could use his strengths at the point guard position, but it also tailored his game to be more of a passer and to trust his teammates more. And we've seen it in little nuances in every series. Like, literally, I could go a game every series and tell you a Marcus Smart play that was a smart play that helped that team edge out the game. Whether it be the Kevin Durant play where Kevin Durant was caught looking at the sideline or the shot clock, and he could have took the shot and he actually passed it to Tatum. Tatum made the move and then they scored at the end to win the game. There's little nuances like that for Marcus Smart that I've seen in every, at least one game in a series or two possibly, that is the catalyst for this team edging out that game in particular. So, yeah, I think the Celtics are on their way to the finals.
Well, I'll say this. I think, a big part of that, the reason why they are is definitely the injuries. But you can only play who's in front of you, so you have to still get the job done at the end of the day. To be honest with you, though, I don't think they make it out of the second round if Chris Middleton plays in that series. But, listen, they should close it out in 6. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Miami still got a little fight left in them and they mess around and extend this series to 7 games.
I don't know, bro. Injuries are part of the game. That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
they said the same thing about the Suns last year.
And we see what happened this year, right? They went home.
But they were the best. They were the best team in basketball all year. They just, I can't breathe. They choked. That's
because every year we have one or two teams that they kill during the regular season. They'll finish in maybe the top 4 in whichever conference, and then they go home by the second round. And injuries, unfortunately, they should have really went home in the first round. If Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt, Phoenix goes home in the second round. But we saw that this year. They went home in the second round because they're not really what people want to make them to be. Just because you got the best record in the regular season doesn't mean you can beat these teams in the playoffs, because people fail to realize in the regular season you playing everybody. That means you're playing all of the good teams, but you're also playing all of the bad teams, and there's a lot more bad teams than there are good teams. So if you're playing those bad teams 4 times a year and you're beating up on the bad teams, yeah, you're gonna have a nice record. But once we're locked in and it's like, all right, now it's just the top teams that's left, and it looks a little different, you wind up going home in the second round to Luka and Jalen Brunson.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know y'all not getting tired of watching In the Huddle over and over again, so like and subscribe to the channel and receive these new notifications of new uploaded content that will be coming your way. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm out. Peace.